The story begins with Leela, an English teacher who's trying to rebuild her life after a painful past. She endured years of abuse from her husband before finally divorcing him. Despite gaining her freedom, Leela is still weighed down by deep sadness. Seeking peace and a fresh start, she moves to a new town and begins teaching at the local high school. Today is her first day at school, where the principal introduces her to the history teacher and shows her around. Meanwhile, we are introduced to Jason, a 19-year-old boy living with his parents, younger sister, and older brother. His family struggles to make ends meet, as they are from a modest middle-class background. In a desperate attempt to earn more money, Jason's older brother turns to drug dealing but ends up getting caught and sent to prison. Jason's parents, deeply worried about his future, constantly urge him to focus on his studies to avoid the same mistakes. Unfortunately, Jason isn't good at academics and has been expelled from multiple schools in the past. Pressured by his family's financial struggles, Jason starts dealing drugs himself, hoping to earn enough to pay for his little sister's school tuition. Later, Leela is seen teaching her students in class, where Jason also studies. He always sits on the last bench, uninterested in learning. He's disengaged, more interested in hanging out with friends and indulging in substance abuse than in academics. His late-night outings leave him disconnected from school life. During a lunch break, Andrew, the school's gym teacher, approaches her with a warm smile. "Your teaching style is unique and engaging," he compliments. Leela responds with a polite smile, and their conversation remains light and friendly. Later that night, Leela speaks to her mother over the phone. Her voice carries a tinge of sadness as she feels the loneliness of living far from her family. The next day, after school, Jason approaches Leela and asks for help with his essay. When she inquires about the topic, he reveals it's supposed to be about himself. But Jason hesitates, admitting he can't share much about his life. Leela gently reassures him, "You can share with me. It'll stay between us, and it'll help me understand my students better." But Jason isn't ready to open up and walks away. Just as Leela considers following him, the history teacher interrupts, remarking that students like Jason are hopeless cases. Leela firmly responds, "It's my job to teach all my students the best way I can." The next day, Leela reviews the students' files and discovers that Jason is a new student with very poor academic performance. Concerned for him, she decides to give him extra attention to help improve his performance. Later, the students begin presenting their poems to the class. When it's Jason's turn, he hesitantly reads his poem. His voice is shaky, but his words carry raw emotion and truth, revealing a glimpse of the pain he hides. Leela is deeply moved by it and admires his talent. After class, she approaches Jason and praises his poem. "Your poem was really extraordinary. If you focus more on your studies, I'm sure your grades will improve too." Jason, hearing this encouragement for the first time, feels a surge of happiness and hope. The next day, while Leela is at school, Andrew approaches her and invites her to a pub for a night out. Initially hesitant, Leela agrees, craving a break from her routine. That night, they enjoy drinks and dance together, letting loose in the lively atmosphere. Coincidentally, Jason is there with his friends. He spots Leela having fun and feels a surprising sense of joy, seeing his otherwise serious teacher in a different light. Inspired by her carefree energy, he feels an unexpected urge to learn how to dance himself. As the night winds down, Leela gets into her car and leaves the pub, unaware of the quiet impact her presence had on Jason. The next day, Leela notices Jason skipping her class and wandering outside, which bothers her. When Jason finally returns to class, Leela tells him that she doesn't want him to skip class again. She also offers to hold extra classes after school for 30 minutes each day to help him with his studies. Jason agrees, and from that day on, he begins attending her extra lessons. During these sessions, Jason finds himself increasingly drawn to Leela. He watches her intently, captivated by her kindness and dedication. Over time, his admiration deepens into feelings he can't ignore. Though Leela remains unaware of his growing affection, she is solely focused on helping him improve academically. One night, Leela feels incredibly lonely and sad, realizing how much she longs for someone who can truly understand her. Just then, Jason arrives at her door, blood dripping from his nose and bruises all over his face. Concerned, Leela lets him in. Jason explains he can't go home in this condition and just needs to clean up before leaving. Worried, Leela asks what happened, but Jason downplays it, saying it was just a small fight. After cleaning himself up, Jason prepares to leave, but Leela insists on driving him home since it's raining. Jason reluctantly agrees, and they set off in her car. On the way, Leela gently asks about his family, but Jason shuts down, unwilling to share. Jason then takes her to a spot overlooking the city, which looks beautiful at night. Jason opens up a little. "I saw you dancing at the pub. I want you to teach me how to dance." As he tries to use the dance as an excuse to get closer, but she pulls away, reminding him that they are teacher and student, and that should never happen again. Despite her words, Leela feels a connection growing between them, though she keeps these feelings hidden inside. After this, Leela leaves him and goes away from home. The following day, Jason's mother sees his test results, which have improved significantly. Overjoyed, she asks him what caused the change. Jason explains that it's because of the new teacher at school. His mother, grateful, says she'll thank her at the next parent-teacher meeting. Meanwhile, Jason is scrolling through Leela's photos on social media, increasingly attracted to her. That night, Leela is at the pub with Andrew, enjoying a casual evening. Jason, also there with a friend, can't take his eyes off her. Across the table, Andrew probes into Leela's past, asking uncomfortable questions about her ex-husband and their divorce. Clearly distressed, Leela excuses herself to the washroom. Jason, noticing her discomfort, follows. When Leela steps out, Jason impulsively kisses her. Surprised but overwhelmed by her own hidden attraction, Leela responds, kissing him back. However, reality quickly sets in and she pulls away, realizing how wrong it is. Leela then approaches Andrew and tells him that her mother is sick and needs to talk to her urgently, so she's leaving. She excuses herself and starts to head out, with Jason following her. Meanwhile, Andrew is approached by the history teacher, who seems to have feelings for him. At Leela's house, Jason arrives at the door, but Leela tells him she doesn't want to meet him and asks him to leave. But Jason insists, saying he only wants to apologize and talk for a moment. Reluctantly, Leela opens the door. Jason starts to confess his feelings, but Leela lies, telling him that she doesn't like him. Jason then asks, "If you don't like me, why did you kiss me back?" Leela replies, "That was my mistake." Despite her words, the chemistry between them is undeniable. Jason kisses her again, and this time Leela can't hold back. She realizes she's falling in love with him, despite the significant age gap between them. They both know their love is unconventional, but their feelings for each other are undeniable, and they decide to continue their relationship. Leela tells Jason that they should keep their relationship a secret and not tell anyone. Jason agrees. She then tells him that whatever happened between them will never happen again. Jason laughs but agrees. Later, Jason goes to meet some people from whom he gets drugs to supply. They ask him to supply even more drugs, pressuring him to continue the illegal business. Meanwhile, Leela is at school when the history teacher approaches her and confesses she likes Andrew. She warns Leela to stay away from him. Later, during Jason's extra class, he tries to kiss Leela, but she stops him, reminding him that they can't act this way in front of others, and their relationship must stay a secret. Jason agrees and asks her to close her eyes. When she does, he gifts her a chain, which makes Leela very happy. That night, Leela calls her mother and confesses that she likes someone, but he's younger than her. Her mother encourages her to be with someone who can truly make her happy. The next day, Leela and Jason go out together and spend time by a lake, enjoying each other's company. Jason takes some photos of Leela on his phone. While relaxing, Jason asks why she moved to the city. Leela opens up, telling him about her past, how her husband used to abuse her, leading her to get a divorce and start anew. Hearing this, Jason is deeply affected and promises, "I'll never hurt you." After their day out, they return to their respective homes. Later, when Jason is taking the shower, his mother checks his phone and sees the photos of Jason and Leela together. This discovery raises new questions and concerns for her. The next day, there is a parent-teacher meeting at school. Leela goes to Andrew to ask for some files. He hands them to her and says, "We're good friends, and if you ever want to take things further, feel free to talk to me. I'm always here for you." Leela leaves without responding. Meanwhile, Jason's mother sees Leela talking to another parent and becomes upset. Having already seen the photos of Leela and Jason together, she realizes that they are in a relationship. Later, Leela calls Jason's mother inside, but she angrily tells her that she enrolled Jason in the school to focus on his studies, not waste his time on her. She warns Leela, "Leave my son alone, otherwise things will get worse for you." In anger, she leaves the room. Principal, noticing Jason's mother's angry departure, asks Leela what happened. Leela, trying to cover it up, says she was in a rush and left quickly. The history teacher also watches the interaction and soon understands that something is going on between Leela and Jason. That night, when Jason comes home, his mother asks him about Leela. Jason admits, "I love her." His mother, furious, insists, "You need to end this." She believes Leela is taking advantage of him. Jason tries to explain that it's not true, but the argument escalates. In anger, Jason storms out of the house. Meanwhile, Leela is on the phone with her mother, and she confesses that the younger guy she was talking about is actually her student. Her mother becomes furious and insists that Leela end the relationship. Just then, Jason arrives at Leela's place. Leela, angry, shouts at him, asking why he didn't tell her that his mother knew about them. Jason explains that he also found out about it just today. Leela tells him to leave, warning him that if anyone at school finds out, he'll be expelled. Jason leaves, but after a while, he returns with flowers and apologizes to her. Leela forgives him, and they spend the night together. The next morning, Leela and Jason talk about how soon everyone will find out about their relationship. Leela says they need to do something about it. Jason tells her he has saved some money, and they could run away together without any problems. But Leela doesn't want to go down that path. The following day, while Leela is at school, Jason grabs her hand and talks to her. Andrew notices them, and he becomes furious and finally understands why Jason had been wandering around Leela. Later that night, while Leela is still working at school, Andrew takes advantage of the situation and assaults her. Back at home, Leela is deeply upset by what happened. She never imagined Andrew would do something like this. Jason comes over and Leela tells him everything. Hearing this, Jason is furious and urges her to go to the police. But Leela is hesitant. She reveals that Andrew threatened her, saying that if she reports him, he will expose their relationship to everyone. The next day, when Jason sees Andrew at school, he becomes enraged and physically confronts him. Soon after, the police arrive and take Jason away. Outside the station, Leela is waiting and Jason's mother arrives, furious, and ensures Jason is released. She then scolds Leela, telling her to stay away from her son. Later in class, Leela is upset and thinking about Jason. That night, Leela tells Andrew that everything he did to her was recorded on the school's cameras. She threatens him, saying if he doesn't drop the case against Jason, she will go to the police. Reluctantly, Andrew agrees to her demands and withdraws the case. The next day, Jason visits Leela's house. Leela tells him that she is leaving the city alone because she now realizes that their relationship was wrong and they cannot continue it. She tells him that he must forget everything and move on with his life. Hearing this, Jason is completely heartbroken and begins to cry. He returns home and cries in his mother's arms, who consoles him. Meanwhile, Leela leaves the city, and with that, the story comes to an end. So friends, if you were Jason, would you have chosen to run away with Leela? What's your opinion on this? Make sure to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching up to this point. And if you really enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and share this video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon. See you in the next video. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. Goodbye for now.